Hello, movie lovers. It's your girl, Rossie, and I'm here with my co-host, John, Movie Lovers Unite, and we're going to review the Netflix movie, Father Stu, with Mark Wahlberg. So let's check it out. Let's get going. What's up, everyone? How's everyone doing?
I'm
Sitting
doing
here with
great.
John. What's up, John?
Nothing much. What's up, Rossie? It's actually a privilege to be on your show for a change. And so it's actually different from doing it inside the studio and not me being the commander of the ship, but it's actually
Right.
good to be in your hands for tonight for this review, and it's a privilege to be able to do this with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this with me, giving me this opportunity, and sitting with me on my first episode. And like I said, guys, we're going to review the movie Father Stu. Let me read a little bit about it so you guys will know what it's about. It's Father Stu is a 2022 biographical drama film written and directed by Rosalind Ross in her directorial debut. The film stars Mark Wahlberg, who also produces as Stuart Long. Stuart Long was a father who actually was born in 1963, 2014. He was a boxer turned Catholic priest suffering from inclusion body myositis. It's basically it's a bone disease, right? A muscle. It attacks your muscles.
Right. It's kind of, I thought it was kind of similar to like maybe like Lou Gehrig's disease or something like that,
Yes,
ALS, something like that.
right,
That was like the closest thing I could actually come to that conclusion on something like that. But then again, I'm
right,
not a doctor. But
right. Lou Gehrig, I don't know if you saw that old film, Brian Song, which it was an NFL player who they named the Lou Gehrig's disease after. Really sad movie, but yeah, this is what Father Stu has.
right.
So, John, I'll let you start. What did you think about Father Stu?
Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you about this. So I actually felt like it was like rough going into it because it actually feels like a straight to DVD, straight to Blu-ray kind of
Yeah,
release to it because of the tone of it and the
yeah,
way that it's actually shot. It's shot like an indie film, but at the same time, it's also shot like a Blu-ray and straight to DVD kind of release because of the fact with the dialogue, the way the thing is actually set up.
right.
And, I like the introduction of whenever you see Stu, he's over there boxing, doing his thing. It's weird to see him with that muscle, that mustache of the handlebar mustache back in those days in the 1970s.
Right.
But it sets the tone. It sets up who Stu is. He's a fighter. That's all he knows. And
Right.
that's where he comes from. And also, too, he also likes Elvis as well, and his father goes, yeah, if you keep on eating hamburgers like that, you're gonna wind up dying on the toilet, just like your role model.
Right.
So, and of course, his father's also played by Mel Gibson. But
Absolutely.
what did you think, though?
I the same thing. I mean, just the first 10 minutes of the film, 20 minutes, we'll say. Yeah, I felt like it was definitely a direct to DVD film. This is not a movie I would stand in line for, but definitely a Sunday afternoon. It's that type of movie. I liked it, and Mark Wahlberg playing this character. I've never seen him play a character like this character where he's really vulnerable and Mel Gibson, the opening scene, with when they showed a little boy hit father or Stu as a child in the bedroom. He loved Elvis Presley. This kid was going to be a star. He's a rock star. And yeah, I thought it was all right. Wasn't a bad movie.
No, not at all. But
Right.
it definitely does have its problems,
Yeah.
especially whenever you're dealing with. Of course, I grew up in a small town and everything. I still do, and it has that small town kind of flavor where basically he keeps on breaking the rules, and because of the fact that everybody knows who he is, he thinks
Right.
that can't keep on getting away with the things that he's doing.
Right.
He's drunk. He's not.
Yeah.
He's suffering with alcoholism, cussing, and raising hell, giving the townspeople hell. And then all of a sudden he just decides automatically that he's going to move to Hollywood to become an actor.
Right. And he does. He ends up moving to Hollywood. This is a guy that came from a broken home. Um, the family suffered a loss. He had a little brother named Stephen. His brother died when he was very young. I think he died at the age of 6. And it seems like the family blamed God for it. They were atheists, and they want nothing to do with it. Same with Stuart. Stu. He does move to Hollywood, and he becomes an actor. He gets a couple of gigs. I mean, he doesn't get anything too big, but he does, get that. You know what I'm about to bring up? That
Yep.
commercial where he does. It's a mop he's advertising for. Do you remember the look on his mother's face when she's walks away from the TV and hears his voice pitching this mop?
Yeah, it's like, what the hell is my son doing? He
Right.
said he got an acting gig and don't have to worry about him, but you can tell the look on her face is,
Yes.
my son is desperate and
Right.
he needs help, but he's not going to allow me to help him because he's a fighter and this is what he's going to do. He's just going to keep
Right.
on plowing through it.
Right.
And you can tell the look of her is like, my son is not okay.
Right. Right.
Especially whenever he starts doing the Inform commercial, whenever he says, look how easy it glides across the floor. Just get your mop today. Act
Right.
now. And I'm like,
Right.
oh my God, this is not going to, no, dude, no.
One thing I give him, as an actress, an actor, whatever, he did it though. He went there, and I mean, any actor, I tell you, I would kill for something like that right now. Okay, so he did. Seriously,
Right.
you appreciate everything you get, but he did do it. Stu was a very a go-getter, and he can talk like a guy that has a truck full of water into buying a cup of water from him. He's that type of guy. You just don't say no to him. He's yeah, he doesn't take no for an answer.
No, and another thing too is let's also talk about it. The sleazeball that was trying to make him suck himself,
Oh my gosh,
make him
right.
go down on him. And
Right.
you know what though? I am glad in a way that they did this with the opposite sex instead of it being about the women who gets harassed, because this is the same stuff that happened with Brandon Fraser and things like
Right.
that and Terry Crews. So
Right.
I'm glad that they're making it, hey, look, it's not just women that are having this sexual misconduct in Hollywood. It's actually
Right.
men too. And I
Absolutely.
like how Mark just goes on ahead. I like how Stu he goes, oh yeah, you suck on this. He winds up he winds up pushing him against the wall, and then he knocks over his camera. And he goes, look, I need another camera. I'm thinking to myself, how many cameras did other people break?
Right. The way that he, called his secretary, and the way he said that, yeah, it makes you think, you've done this before. You just met the right one today. That's all that is. But and that lets you know who Stu was. You don't disrespect him. He comes from that town, that family, and just a rough around the edges type of guy. A good person, but rough around the edge. What did you think about when he fell in love and met Carmen for the first time in the meat market?
Okay, I thought this was funny. He's a guy who's like we said, he doesn't take no for an answer, right? And he's over there also too, hustling, trying to get people. Hey, do you know people in the entertainment industry, stuff like that, trying to get himself known with that. Then he winds up meeting Carmen, and the way he looks at Carmen is just electric.
Right.
No offense to Carmen Electra, but but no, it was just electrifying because of the way he's looking at her, because of the fact he's like, ooh, I want to get with her.
Right.
And then I like how the boss goes, well, in order for you to get with her, you have to join the church, and this is where she goes to church at. And okay, I'll do that. He goes, and stalking is illegal in all 50 states, right? It's just not in your local area or anything, right? He doesn't take no for an answer. He goes over to the church, and then he winds up finding out that he just can't act his way through this. He actually has to work for her respect, not only work for her respect, but also work for the respect of the church, which is something I really liked with that as well. And he can't be himself around it. And also too, he's like, well, I'm an actor, I can go ahead and act my way through this. And then he finds out quickly about how wrong he actually is.
Yeah, I like the fact that he thought he could fake his way through church. I mean, because he doesn't know that he's going to be, spiritually grabbed, and sucked into that church. So it's funny because, he's in the church, the way that he talks, he's cursing in the church, he's bullshitting his way through. And, that's the pivotal moment when he actually, it hits him. Like, I think there's something there. I think I found what I was looking for,
Right. Especially, okay, even though this might be a little bit of the acting part of him or whatever, but whenever he's with the kids, he's like,
so
and this is the part that makes me laugh. He goes, so what are you going to give up for Lent? He goes, well, I'm going to give up beer. well, isn't that something you love? And he said, that's true. That's very true. And he goes, my dad gave up porn.
Right. That's right. I love that part.
And he goes, well, you know, your dad also needs to give up sex since porn is part of sex.
Right.
So,
and poor Carmen. Poor Carmen's like, I don't want to have this conversation. And it's like, you know, Stu's like, he brought it up. He brought up porn. I was talking about alcohol. But seeing him in that setting with the kids and him saying, I don't know if you wanted to finish that up, what he ended up telling the kids.
basically, he's just telling the kids, and I'm not going for verbatim, is basically this: do not revolve yourself around these things, otherwise you're going to be just like him.
Right.
And that's basically what I liked about it. And then, of course, he winds up getting that motorcycle accident on that same day.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my! Right. Now that part, like,
yeah.
I know I said that this actually feels like a straight to DVD or Blu-ray release,
right?
But the way they filmed that shot, it felt really horrific.
Yes,
because I've seen straight to DVD releases and stuff like that where it doesn't feel realistic. This one actually captures that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, I watched it the first time. The first time I watched it, and I'm kind of like this peeking because you know what's going to happen, but it really did look like he got hit by a car. And not only did he get hit, that he ran into a car, he's on his dirt bike or his motorcycle, he also gets ran over by a car that's coming. And the scene where, really quick though, right before that at the bar when he's sitting there, because remember, he gave up all this stuff. He's sitting in a bar. The guy that's sitting next to him, you know, that, the guy that's sitting next to him in a bar with the face that looked like he got burned. How odd was that? The guy was there, and Stu asked the bartender, what's he been drinking? And the bartender says, water. He's had just water. That was odd to me. But getting back to the accident, he did get run over. Go ahead.
Let's talk about that for a minute here,
okay,
because because there's some light that I want to share on that part though.
Right.
Because remember, he said you can only BS yourself through every situation before you wind up getting a wake up call.
Right. Right.
And and you know, Stu was just being Stu. He goes, yeah, whatever, buddy. You know, I'm just gonna keep on drinking my beer. And at that point, he's not giving up his beer totally or anything like that. It's like baby steps and progression into that, into a story arc. And I like how he's like, oh yeah, sure, buddy, whatever. I got this thing figured out. I'm gonna be good and everything. And he's wasted off his butt, and that's how he gets into the accident. But yeah, but that's what I wanted to touch on was you never know who's going to impact you.
Absolutely.
And make you see the light, even though God could be using somebody as a light to actually help you reach that surface and using them as a vessel. You never know what your life until after that.
Right. Absolutely. That accident, I think he decided to become a father, priest, whatever, before that accident, right? Because I mean, the scene where he goes and it hits him that, you know, that's what I want to do. I want to be a father. I want to go to the school, and this is what I want to do with my life. Most parents would be really happy that, you know, their kid want to do that. Not Stu's mom and dad, by the way. Remember, they're not happy with it because they're atheists. They're pissed because they feel like God took their 6-year-old son away, who they named Stephen, which was a name in a Bible. And the dad kind of mentioned that he felt like giving his son such a holy name that he would be protected, you know, that wouldn't happen to his little boy. So they're very angry, and they're very angry when they find out that this is what he wants to do. Get back to the accident. The vision that he sees, the Mother Mary, the woman, that was just like, I'm thinking, is he tripping, or did she come to him, you know? And he lived through that accident.
Right. Here's the thing, though. I think that's actually God's calling to him, saying, hey, look, there's more to this life than what you're doing and the way this world operates. You need to stop what you're doing. You're going to get a second way of life here.
Right.
You just have to give up everything and follow me.
Right.
And, you know, the back going on to the other thing whenever he's in the hospital, and then Mel Gibson looks at Carmen, and he goes, does she know that you're an atheist? She goes, did you know he got baptized? He goes, what?
That's right.
Awkward grenade.
That's right. Dad was PO'd because he feels like, why are you giving your life to this mythical person. Why are you doing this? Basically, you know what he did to us, you know. They just cannot accept it. And he had a horrible dad. His dad, you know, was just a horrible, angry. I mean, an example, you know, Stu calls his dad Bill, not dad, Bill, you know. So that's just to give you a little, you know, background on the life that he came from.
For sure. And, you know, then we go on ahead and we wind up seeing this other thing being played out with them, especially whenever Carmen winds up sitting on the bed with him. This is after he gets out of the hospital. And that
Right.
was a speedy recovery, by the way. There was
Oh my
nothing.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
There was
Yes.
no therapy. There was nothing. It was like,
They show
bam.
they
I'm
show
like,
none of that.
because I was thinking, okay, we're going to get some therapy out of this,
Right.
and it's going to go through his whole entire transformation
Right.
of him walking and trying
Right.
to be the right calling to serve God. But
Right.
instead, it goes from him being run over, him in the hospital doing X-rays, and then bam, now we're
Right.
in a couple of months later, and basically him and Carmen. He's kind of depressed or whatever
Yeah.
because of the condition that he's in, and because he's still sore, I believe.
Right.
And Carmen winds up sleeping with him, and the next thing you know, he felt bad because of the fact that he sinned against God for that, and then
right.
he winds up confessing that sin over to the priest because,
Right.
well, you know, it's good fruit for you to do that.
I love how the fact that he doesn't know how things go. He's not good with how to approach a situation when he goes and talk and does his confessional. You know, he's you know, basically, you know, bullshitting with the father, you know, and kind of loud, and you know, the father's letting them know, you know, well, everyone can kind of hear your confession. You might want to whisper a little bit and tell me, but that's who he was. And I like the fact that even though he wanted to be with the church and preach, he still was him, you know. And I think that as we'll see later on in the film, it made it easier for people to listen to him because he did get turned down at first. The church did, you know, they did not accept his application. Being him, he shows up at the archdiocese office and
Mm-hmm.
you know lets them know, no, this is, I want this, and they allow him in. He starts school. He has to room with what he would consider, I think, his arch nemesis. I forget the guy's name, but he had to, you know, bunk with him. And this is they never got along throughout the whole film. He could not stand this guy. And I think the guy was kind of interested in Carmen and, or maybe protective over Carmen. And that's why he and Stu didn't get along. What did you think about that?
With that, I thought of it like this. It's like, dude, you're trying to be in the middle of two things. You're in or you're out. You cannot play both fields here. If you want to be with Carmen, be with Carmen. But if you want to be with us, you have to put that aside and put away your thing. So you can't. He's trying to play two sides of the fence, and you can't do that when you're serving God or anything like that. Either you're all in or you're out.
Right.
There is no middle ground, and that's basically why he was so much. Basically being a pain in the butt with Stu. It wasn't because of the fact that, you know, he was being a douchebag or anything. It's because maybe the way that Stu was teaching stuff, maybe. But as far as stuff with Carmen, I just looked at him as the fact that, you know, you're trying to be a priest, but you're also trying to be someone that isn't a priest.
Right.
And you need to draw the line between the two. You have to make your decision. And that's what I felt like with that.
Okay. All right.
To be honest with you. Yeah, he was a little bit of a douchebag, but then he winds up slowly, progressively starting to get used to Stu, especially whenever he starts having the ALS thing inside the prison, which was one of my favorite parts in the movie there too.
Right. Yeah, they he and the roommate that he had, once the disease started to really take a hold of Stu, he couldn't walk anymore. He had to use like the crutches or whatever you call them. He had to use canes basically to assist him to walk. And there's this really great scene when they go to the prison, and of course, you know, they get there, and the other guy is totally opposite of Stu. He's very straight lace, by the book type of guy. So he goes there. They're gonna, you know, talk to the inmates and all, and the inmates are being, you know, smart asses, and you know, the dude couldn't deal with it. They weren't feeling him. So Stu gives this great mini sermon and kind of opens up their eyes, you know, and you know, making them realize, you know, you call your mom and you're depressing her when you call her from here. you're a woman, you're doing the same thing. Your kids are getting in fights at school. There's nothing you can do, but God will always be here. You can always call on him. He's always with you. And I loved how they showed the one inmate, just kind of the one that was being a smartass, kind of hits him like, truth.
Right, because Stu was just being real with them.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Whenever the guy opens up, which is the douchebag that he's always having problems with, he goes, you're walking through a black valley. He goes, why does it have to be black? And
Right,
da.
right,
And then that's when Stu winds up breaking it down to him. Like this, your woman's probably banging somebody right now.
right. That's
and
right.
And here you are making wise cracks. I'm not gonna go on ahead and repeat what you said because what you
Right,
said was
right,
actually right back. But it's like, well, damn, I'm stuck here behind these bars because of the choices that I've made.
right,
And I'm going to be depressing everybody with my problems whenever they probably have bigger problems outside of this cell than what I do.
right.
And you can always lean on God. So I actually liked that whole entire
Absolutely.
scene. That scene to me stood out through the whole entire film, to be honest with you. Also, too, Carmen was also not taken lightly either whenever she found out that Stu wanted to be a priest. She's like, wait, what are you talking about? We just got done making love and everything, and now here you are wanting to be a priest. It's like as soon as she gave it up, it's like, oh, I want to be a priest.
And it was sad because he wants to tell her, this is what I'm gonna do, and she sadly thinks that he brought her out to the restaurant to propose to her, which I thought he was gonna do.
Me too.
And it broke her heart because, like she said, you can never get married. We can never be together. And Stu, being, knowing where he wants to go. Yeah, he understands that. But he really, God really, interfered in his life in a great way because it seems like he was always searching for something, and finally he found someone that accepts him wholeheartedly, so he went, he did that, he became, a father. It happened for him. Talk about when they what'd you think about them taking that away from him, though?
I can understand them why they would do that because of the fact that they would feel liable for anything that happened.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell the main father didn't want to do it.
Right.
But he understands there's always politics in anything you do and everything you do. Yes. And he's like, wait, this has nothing to do with you and I. There's a bigger picture here.
Right.
It's because of the fact that our governor or whoever's in charge of this is not allowing me to do this because of the fact they see me as a risk, and therefore they're not going to give us any money because of it, because of my condition.
Right.
So therefore you have to go on ahead and bow me out of here. So, and then at that point, it's heartbreaking because Stu, all this time, all he wanted was to be accepted and to be in this priesthood.
Right.
And what sucks is he had this life going for him where basically he got to play basketball with the priest. He got to live to be honest with you, he got to live the best life that he could possibly get as a priest before he had the ALS.
Right. Yes. And with the ALS, being that it was something horrible because, all his motor skills are eventually, they're going to go. They're not, so. But the weird thing about it is the ALS brought his family together. Dad decided to go to AA, stop drinking. He and the mom got together. Actually, when they told Stu he could no longer, be in the priesthood. He ended up, moving in with his dad, or his dad moved in with him. They became really close. Yeah, I cried a few times during this film because it's really heartbreaking, especially when he couldn't do what he wanted to do anymore. In the scene where he's in the church and just crawled up, and it's laying underneath Virgin Mary, and they had to call him for the dad to come and get him out that church. But it did bring the family together.
It did. It brought the family together, but I also like the transformation of his body because one minute we see him getting baptized and he's got abs. This guy's ripped like a boxer. It's like, how you doing?
Right.
And then that's why Carmen wanted to go ahead and tap that before he was a priest. But yeah, then, after, then you see the fact that what your body does to you if you're just sitting in a wheelchair, being confined to a wheelchair because of your condition, you start gaining weight, and then you can't do anything for yourself, and then the father has to go ahead, and his own father has to lift him up off the toilet and help him to the toilet. He goes, well, you're just like your role model that you wanted to be.
Right, right. Absolutely right. And that's one thing about this movie. There's a lot of, little bits of comedy in this film, and, speaking of the transformation, to see Mark Wahlberg, go through that transformation in this film was awesome. I've never seen him like that ever. And he did a really good job. So just to see that, his acting in this film, it's worth, watching,
It is definitely worth
absolutely.
checking out.
Yes, definitely. We'll wrap it up with the father is taking Stu to church, and the truck breaks down, so they have to put Stu in his wheelchair, get him to church so he can be there on time. And Stu's kind of wondering, why is dad putting on his tie? And the dad mentions, the last time he wore that tie is when his son died went to a funeral. But actually they had reversed the decision, the priesthood, and allowed him to continue and to become a priest. And he did that. And the ALS really took a hold of his body, and he ended up in a nursing home.
He winds up in the nursing home, and then he dies at age 50.
Yes.
And it's unbelievable how many people would actually just go over there to see Father Stu, just to seek for forgiveness and just sit with him and talk with him, which I thought was fantastic and awesome.
Right.
But going off the narrative of what you were talking about, I like how he goes, oh, so you brought Carmen here? You think we're going to get married now?
Right.
He goes, well, somebody needs to change her ass.
Right.
He goes, because I can't be doing it all the time.
Right. So he thinks he's getting married to Carmen.
And I thought too.
Yeah, I did too, because she was in the white dress, and I thought, well, awesome. Okay, he's not a priest anymore. He can go and do this. And little do you know, when he goes into church, the main priest is there, and they let him know, you're reinstated. They're going to allow you to go ahead and finish up, be a priest. And that was, I cried during that scene. I'm just like crocodile tears. It's so sad and happy at the same time. And, like we said, he finishes his life in a nursing home. And what'd you think about the film when they showed the real guy, the real Father Stu?
Okay, so I didn't start shedding tears until I actually saw the real Father Stu.
Okay.
Whenever I saw him, I'm like, this guy, you can definitely tell that there was something powerful and moving inside of him, of that Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And once that Holy Spirit has a hold of you, you're going places that you never thought you could actually go before.
Absolutely.
And it's just so moving and so powerful on how much light, because here's the thing, I don't want to get into I'm a Christian, but but here's the thing though, you have to be salt and light for everybody to see. If your light is dimmed at all times and you're a Christian, that dimness is not going to brighten anybody's soul. It's not going to do anything.
Right.
And the devil loves for people just to be babes, just to be babies.
Right.
And that's how Satan gets you.
Right.
And everybody's thinking that Satan is just this little man in a little cape and everything and stuff like that. But no, he comes in different formats, alcohol. Like
absolutely.
Stu.
Right.
It comes in different formats of whatever you're tempted with. And I think that Father Stu is a fantastic priest. I'm thinking that he is fantastic at touching other people's souls and being that salt and light and that beacon for other people.
Right. Right. I agree with you. I like how at the end of the movie they show pictures of the actual Father Stu, the interview that he did. They play that interview, and I like I said, I cried. This wasn't a bad movie. It's worth checking out. To see Mark Wahlberg's performance in this film, and just it may touch someone. It may talk to you.
It may actually talk to you and may find inspiration, and also too might actually maybe even question your own abilities as to what you believe in, as well. So it may touch some people in that kind of aspect as well. So the first 20 minutes it's kind of rough, but once you get past the first 20-minute mark, you're gonna like this movie. I promise you that.
Absolutely,
I had a good time watching it.
Absolutely, I did too. It was end up being a good movie. I enjoyed it. And like I said, if you're free on a Sunday or you're bored, this is one to put on and just check it out and check out Mark Wahlberg's performance.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, movie lovers, for joining John and joining me on my first show, my first episode. And I look forward to being back on Thursdays with you all. John, what do we do? Are we doing a short film next week or something? What are we doing?
Yeah, we're going to try and do a short film, or we might actually do a full-length movie that was sent in to me, because there's actually, I got a screener copy for a horror movie that was actually presented at a horror fest out in London. So,
cool.
So we have 2 horror films that was sent in to us. I might actually let you see which one you like better, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, guys, please like, subscribe. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to movieloversunite@gmail.com. You can also reach out to me, rossietalks@gmail.com. And John, do you want to, any other shout outs, places?
Yeah. Here's the thing. All those stuff that she mentioned is going to be in the description below. But also too, don't forget, tomorrow Will from Conversations About ... podcast is going to be joining me, and we're going to be doing our She-Hulk episodes 5 and 6 review. We're going to be doing that tomorrow at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Of course, on Wednesday nights we normally do our House of the Dragon review and stuff like that, but I think Abby might be joining me on this Sunday, so you might actually get a live reaction of what we thought of it in real time for this next episode, for going into episode 6. So if that doesn't happen, it may get rescheduled back over to Wednesday, but stay tuned for more stuff on TV for the TBA to be announced.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we will see you
later.